Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Night Talks podcast. And this has been a really tough one. I've had this prepared for the longest time, but the truth is, it's been really really not disappointing, but really hard to take or hard to accept. But the fact that Casemiro is going to be leaving in the summer, right? It's going to be his contract is going to be running down his contract at the end, and it's going to be leaving in the summer. But it's been hard to take. But I'm going to just kind of give you some analysis or breakdown of what has happened over the last couple of years, and with regards to the news that the club talked about. When it came to Casemiro. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I had this script prepared a long time ago, but it's good to see that we kind of be able to at least try to put it out before it. I mean, so we don't have to forget, right? Basically, so like I said, welcome to United Talks podcast, and today is a heavy one. Basically, we've spent the last couple of hours buzzing, basically, obviously, of the two victories, back-to-back victories against Man City and Arsenal, the 2-0 win and all of that, the Carrick masterclass, the feeling that the sun was finally rising over Old Trafford, the sleeping giant has finally woken up and all of those things. But as the saying goes, with every new beginning, something else has to come to an end. And that is the fact that Casemiro, basically, the news is official that the club has confirmed a couple of days ago, about a week now, that the tank, the five-time Champions League winner, the man who brought a who brought a serial winner heartbeat back to Old Trafford, back to our midfield, will leave Manchester United at the end of 25-26 season. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, even though we knew that his contract was winding down, I've said this several times on the channel, that his contract is winding down. I've said it on different, streams and stuff. Even though we're moving into the new INEOS era of youth and projects, seeing those words Casemiro to leave actually hits different, right? We aren't just losing a player, basically. We're losing a standard setter, basically. I know that most fans will say it was a long time coming, but in today's special, we're going to just react to the incredible farewell statement, and we're going to also look back at the night against Newcastle at the Wembley, the McFred era, that he single-handedly ended, and we're also going to talk about those final 16 games. I mean, right now it's going to be 15 left, right? Because Cassel himself said it's not time to say goodbye yet, but that there's a trophy still to fight for, which is obviously the Premier League, which obviously everybody doesn't expect that Mainoo is going to win, and the legacy to cement. So let's get your comments in now. Let's have a conversation. What's your single most favorite moment or favorite Casemiro memory? Let's celebrate this legend. Right now, the next section is basically his arrival in 2022. We're going to talk about it, changing the gravity at Old Trafford. Now we're taking a trip back to memory lane, August 2022. Remember where we were. Basically, we had just been humbled by Brighton and Brentford under Eric Ten Hag, and the midfield was a disaster zone. People were already laughing at us, and then out of nowhere, news breaks that we're signing the starting defensive mid from Real Madrid. The pundits called it a panic buy. They said he was just coming for the final paycheck, but then he came that night against Liverpool. He was unveiled on the pitch before kickoff. He walked out in the salt, in that suit, basically smiling, and basically you could feel the gravity of the club shift. He didn't play that night, but his presence in the stands seemed to galvanize the team to beat Liverpool 2-1. If you remember that victory, you'll understand what is going on. He didn't come here to retire. He came here because it is his own, in his own words, he wanted to fix Manchester United. Think about the impact he had on the players around him. He took a young Kobbie Mainoo under his wing. He gave Bruno Fernandes the freedom to stop defending and start creating. He formed the wall of South America with Lisandro Martinez, and at some point, Casemiro and Fred played together. They made Old Trafford their fortress again in his first season. He played 146 games for us, scoring 21 goals. For a defensive midfielder, that is an elite return. And it wasn't just the volume of goals, it was the weight of them. He's always seemed to pop up, when the theater of dreams was starting to feel like in a theater of nightmares. Now, we're going to talk about the Wembley situation. That's the next section of the video. The Wembley heroics and 2023 and 2024 trophies. We have to talk about the trophies, basically. Trophies is one at Man United. Because before Casemiro, we had a 6-year drought with 6 years of almost not quite, almost like under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at some point, and not quite and not good enough. And February 2023, the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle, that was the Casemiro final. I remember the header vividly. Luke Shaw whips in a cross and Casa just towers over everyone. The way he celebrated the goal, he didn't celebrate like a guy on a paycheck. He celebrated like a guy who had just won the first ever trophy. He went over to the fans, beating his chest and always touching the badge like this. And that performance was colossal. He won every duel. He calmed every nerve. And then 2024, the FA Cup final win against Manchester City, even when the team struggled with injuries. I remember him playing in the same team with, I think, Amrabat, with Amrabat, right? Basically, when the team struggled with injuries and tactical shifts, he remained the professional. He filled in at the center back when we had no one else. He took the criticism when his legs were questioned. I mean, you remember the famous quotes where basically Jamie Carragher came out to say that he should leave the football before the football leaves him, and at the end of the day, he went on to still play 2 seasons after that. It's super interesting, and all of that. He filled in as centre back, as I said, on several occasions under Ten Hag, when we had no one else. He took the criticism when his legs were, questioned. He never went to the media to complain. He just put his hand down and he won. I remember times when they called him fat. I remember times when they said he looked too big. He went in the summer and trimmed the heck down, basically, right? Now he's leaving us with at least 2 major trophies, if you call that. 2 major trophies in an era where United had struggled for identity. Most fans will say, oh, major trophies are Premier League and Champions League. But obviously, he tried and he won 2, whatever you want to call it. Those teams that are looking for major trophies haven't won a major trophy, let alone the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. Casemiro was our identity when it comes to work rate, hard work, putting your foot down. Even at the point where Toby Collier was putting him on the bench under Ruben Amorim, Casemiro still worked hard, never complained. When Ten Hag was having issues with him, the wife went on social media, put out a picture of his trophy haul. Still, Casemiro did not complain one bit. Now he's leaving us, right? He's leaving us with at least 2 trophies, right? Even when we struggled for identity in this era, it was a bridge between the Glazer era and the star chasing, the Glazer era of star chasing and the INEOS era of professional excellence. And he showed the kids in the academy what it actually looks like to be a world-class pro. Now, we're going to also, go into the next section of this video where we're talking about the reacting to the statement and basically his "Red Until Death" statement. Let's look at these quotes because these are the beautiful quotes from Casemiro. Casa said, I am red, I am Manchester United until death. Can we just appreciate that for a second? Basically, how he came out to say that. A man who has won everything at Real Madrid, everything comes here, everything at Real Madrid, basically, everything, right? He comes here for 4 years and falls so deeply in love with the club that he calls himself a United fan for life. That is deep, man. Most people that have come through this club, they become fans for life. Look at Schweinsteiger. Schweinsteiger is a fan of Man United for life, right? You look at Casemiro now, Uncle Cas. Everybody calls him Uncle Cas or Uncle Casa, right? Amazing, right? So, he says a United fan for life. It's really sad to see him go, but obviously we need to move on from the era. But he spoke about his presentation day, remembering the fans singing his song before he'd even kicked the ball. That says everything about our fan base, basically, when their heads are screwed on right. But he also says more about him. He felt the passion of Old Trafford. He said, it's not a goodbye, it's just a chapter in my life, right? This is the mark of a man who has class, basically. He's 33. He knows the club is moving to a younger direction. moving in a younger direction. Of what use would it be being here and being 34 and struggling, and then the media pressure and everything? He knows Mainoo is the future. Obviously, in as much as many people would disagree with that, Ugarte too as well, because I'm guessing Ugarte must have learned something or a thing or two from him. But many people might not want Ugarte in the midfield, but we'll see how things pan out. Instead of making it difficult, he's helping the transition. But I wish there was somebody that was signed in, and then that person kind of learns off of him and then take it up from there. But then it is what it is. But the part that got me was when he mentioned that mentioned his family. Like he says, it means so much to me, not just for me, but for all my family. My whole family will always be Manchester United fans. We often forget the human side of these transfers. I mean, that's just basically with regards to Casemiro. He says, I mean, he actually moved his life to Manchester, and he's living as one of us or one of ours. That number 18 shirt is going to be so hard to feel, and most likely we will know, in the summer what happens then. Now, the final 16 games or final 15 games now of Michael Carrick and the Carrick factor. What happens now? What happens next? Does he knuckle down and everything? As at the time of kind of thinking about these things before, I mean, at the time of his announcement, we had 16 games to go. We had 16 games left. And we were sitting fifth. Now we're sitting fourth in the table. And we had Arsenal to go, and we defeated Arsenal. And then we've got a real chance at Champions League football, and that's what Casemiro might want to, leave with his legacy. Now, if you watch a derby last Saturday, I mean, before the Arsenal game, you would have seen how Michael Carrick used him. Carrick, a man who played in the same position with the same intelligence, seems to have unlocked a late career Casemiro by playing him in a more disciplined double pivot with Kobbie Mainoo, and basically he doesn't have to sprint 40 yards and cover gaps anymore. He can just sit, read the game, and dictate, as well as intercept balls the way Michael Carrick could always do. And we did that against Man City, did that against Arsenal. Now, what I want to see is a Casemiro that will go out on a massive high. Imagine if he helps lead this Carrick resurgence into top four, and imagine if he helps us get Champions League. If his final act is ensuring that United are back where we belong, basically, especially in this season, considering how this season has panned out for everybody. Now, the final home game is against Nottingham Forest on May 17th. So mark your calendars. This is going to be one of the most emotional afternoons at Old Trafford that has been seen in years. Hopefully, we end that game with a win, considering how we drew against Nottingham Forest. So I want to see every single person in that stadium, basically standing up when he walks off the pitch, and he deserves the Varane treatment that Varane got. At some point, Varane actually went to the middle of the pitch after the game and sat down there to embrace the whole Old Trafford thing, and then he left, went to Como, and saw that he couldn't play due to injuries. Then he had to just kind of retire from there. So we would like to see that Varane treatment and more. He deserves to hear his song one more time, louder than ever. Hopefully he gets subbed off maybe in the 75th minute, and then he gets, people get to sing his songs and everything. Now, the final thing, and basically just the closing thoughts, and then we'll do some reminiscing before we wrap it all up, is the legacy that Casemiro has left, right? To wrap this all up, people, will debate Casemiro's legacy. Some will point to the high wages or the games that he missed through injuries. But for me, I'll point to his mentality, and that's the fact, right? He taught this squad how to win. He taught them that 1-0 leads is nothing to be defended with your it's something to be defended with your life. He taught the Stretford end that even in the darkest moments, a serial winner can still find the magic in the red shirt. If you remember the Olympic Lyon game, the impact Casemiro had. So, Casa, if you're somehow watching this video, thank you. Thank you for the Wembley header. Thank you for Olympic Lyon. Thank you for the tackles. Thank you for choosing us when you could have easily stayed in Madrid or even gone to Saudi or the Americas to actually play. But you cruised out. Even if you decided to stay in Madrid, probably would have won more titles with them. But you came to the theater of dreams when it was falling apart, and you helped us start building it back up. And you are the bridge between the INEOS era and the Glazer era. Well, hopefully, there's a change that happens at the top. But once a red, always a red. Now, to you all, what is your message to Casa? Basically, drop it in the comment section. We're going to be doing a full tactical preview. We've done a few tactical preview for the Fulham game. And obviously you can expect that Casemiro is going to be the key to kind of stopping, the Fulham midfield and everything in between. But we're going to also reminisce some of Casemiro's goals and peak moments and fun moments. Um, Basically, one of the moments is the Wembley breakthrough in February 2023. The opening goal in the Carabao Cup final versus Newcastle when it mattered. United hadn't won a trophy in 6 years, and in the third minute, Casemiro rose highest to head home a Luke Shaw cross, sparking a 2-0 win. He didn't just score; he won the man of the match and then set the standard for what it means to be a serial winner. And he said he celebrated that so much. And then the next one is the fixer raw at Chelsea in October 2022. The moment that's basically the 94th minute equalizer at Stamford Bridge when it mattered. I think he had an injury in his head or he headed the ball or something. His first goal for the club was pure drama. Rising at the back post. I mean, he scored a lot of headers, man. There's so many to count, but just picking out a few, right? He helped a header over Kepa to rescue a point, but it was also the celebration that the fans remember. A primal, chest-beating roar toward the away end. It was the moment that he knew, that we all knew that, he wasn't here for the paycheck, but he was here to fight. I remember another game against Everton as well. And then the next one we could also remember is the acrobatic seal of May 2023 when we were struggling at that point, and remember the green jersey. The moment was when he had an overhead kick versus Bournemouth. And why it matters is because we needed points to secure Champions League football. In the 9th minute, a midfielder not known for his flair basically produced a moment of Brazilian magic. If you look at how he kept his eyes stuck on that ball, a stunning improvised bicycle kick. It was the only goal of the game and essentially punched our ticket back to Europe's elite. Now, the next one is the number 4 one, which is basically the Lyon comeback in March 2025. The moment was with regards to 2 assists and a penalty won in the final 8 minutes. And why it matters is because United won 4-2 on aggregate. I think 5-2 basically. 5-2? Yeah, it was 5-2 on aggregate, crashing on aggregate and crashing. United were 4-2 down. Basically, we won 5-4. So United were 4-2 down on aggregate and crashing out of Europe as it stood against Lyon. And Casemiro took the game by the scruff of the neck, winning the penalty and then providing the pinpoint assist for Kobbie Mainoo and Harry Maguire to complete one of Old Trafford's greatest European nights ever. It was the ultimate, display of his never say die attitude. And I remember him running so slowly and sliding so slowly and lying on the floor and really, did I really do that? And then obviously the 5th one is the silent conductor masterclass of January 2026, basically against Manchester City, right? The moment is shutting down the Manchester City's midfield under Michael Carrick. And why it matters is because just days before his departure was announced, Casemiro proved that he still has the elite tactical brain that conquered Europe. In the 2-0 derby win, he led the young guns, Mainoo and Dogu, with a disciplined defensive clinic, right? It was the perfect bookend to a career spent proving his doubters wrong. And just to give you a bit of a stat or a bit of statistics with regards to Casa, 146 games played, 21 goals scored, 2 major trophies, Carabao and the Carabao Cup in 2023, FA Cup in 2024. So that's 2 trophies in 3 years. And a certain club, and then he's an absolute legend, one absolute legend. Now, he's read unto death. Now, a certain club has been here. Casemiro came, won 2 trophies in 3 years, and then he's leaving, and that club hasn't won a trophy yet. I'm not going to mention the name. You all make of it what you will. Now, just to kind of wrap things up and close it all out, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. What does Casemiro being a Man United player mean to you? For me, he's one player that I would always respect. Basically, he took our club, despite all the insults and the pressure from the media and the fan base and from people like Jamie Carragher, and he still did his best for the team. So that's it, pretty much from me here. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe. And, hit the comment section. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about Casemiro. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. And God bless. Obrigado, Casemiro.